Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our after school It's a Tech Tip Frontline Teams Gradebook Best Practices for 2nd through 12th grade. Real quick, I do want you to know that in the chat, I believe Jesus is going to be dropping our sign-in sheet and eval. So let me know, Jesus, interrupt when that is there and ready to go. Take a moment though, because we want to front load the session with our resources, but also allow you to leave the session with resources as well. So I would take a moment, take a photo of the Schoology course card or a screen capture. And then I'm going to ask Julie if you would type the Schoology course code in the chat. So that way, if it makes it easier for someone to just copy and paste in order to join the Schoology course. I'm going to be referencing it a couple times to share where our resources are. So as soon as Julie puts that in the chat, I'll give you a quick how do you join the course overview. It'll take 30 seconds. Good to go, Julie? Okay, so I'm going to just hop over to Schoology really quick. If you want to join that course, remember, you're just going to head over to Courses, the top, scroll over to the right where it says My Courses. You'll click My Courses, and it's a course, not a group. You'll click a Join Course, and then you'll enter that code that Julie just shared here, and then press the word Join. Okay, and once you do that, you should find inside of your Schoology courses a course card that is green and says Gradebook. And you're going to find inside of this course a lot of the resources that we're going to use for today's session. And I'm going to start off with our EPISD grading policy and share a little bit about that. I want you to know that our department does not come up with the rules for grading. And if you have any questions, it's always best to check in with your campus CTCs and your admin. But of course, to take a look at our board policies as well. So for today, our quick agenda will be, we want to make sure that we cover the gradebook policy, the maintain teacher gradebook for elementary and secondary, how to add an extra credit assignment. And I'm going to do my best on this because I don't have access to an actual Teams gradebook to show you live how to do this. We'll share with you some of the special gradebook characters, where to go to enter behavior and effort scores, and then where we have some additional resources that you can access today. All right. Okay, so inside of our, real quick, Schoology course, there is a folder called EPISD grading policy. And I just want you to know that this document was taken from our EPISD grading policies online. So I don't have the direct link to that, but I just want you to know where we got that from. And inside of the policy, it's stating that teachers should be uploading grades weekly inside of the gradebook. And it specifically says to include a minimum of 2 grades per week in math, language arts, reading, science, social studies, orchestra, and physical education. With that being said, I understand, and most principals do as well, what happens on a short week, like a Monday to Wednesday, and what happens on some of the other weeks, for example, a week before, I don't know if we'll have that before Christmas, but keep in mind, we're talking about 2 grades per week for full weeks in EPISD. 1 grade per week uploaded into a grade book for maybe art or music. Dual language classrooms, the policy states a minimum of 1 grade per week in math, language arts, reading, science, and social studies in each language, which basically equates to 2, right? So 1 in each language shall be uploaded into the grade book. Okay, the next thing that you need to know for the policy for grades 6 to 12, that same grades should be uploaded weekly into the grade book and should include a minimum of 12 grades for the 9-week period. So it's a little bit different than elementary. Keep that in mind, right? 4 grades should reflect learning through summative assessments. 4 grades should be reflected through formative assessments, and 4 through daily assignments. That does not mean teachers cannot enter more. They most certainly can enter more grades if they wish, but this is what our policy states. And again, you can visit that by heading over to our EPISD Schoology and reading thoroughly through the 4 pages of policy that would apply to our grading. But those are the highlights that we wanted to point out to you. Before we get started, we go in and I share with you how to set up your gradebook. I want you to know that if you head over to episd.org, or if your parents head over to episd.org, or even your students, this is going to be a good starting point for parents and students to be able to view the grades that you're adding weekly. So I just want you to know from episd.org, if you look at the very top right, there is a link to Parent Portal. So that should make it easier for our parents to access Parent Portal. And if you do a scroll all the way to the bottom of episd.org, sorry, it's a lot of scrolling, I didn't realize. Ooh, here we go. On the very bottom, under resources, you're going to find a link to Student Portal, which is a great place to send your students if you're wanting them to hold themselves accountable for their grades and check weekly as you'll be entering those grades. And there's also the link for Parent Portal as well. Those are important resources to share with parents and students so that they can also, like I said, have some responsibility in checking their grades and make sure that they are completing assignments as well weekly. I'm going to share one quick tip with you because as I've been working with teachers that are brand new to our district this week, I've noticed that many of our teachers are taking the time to log into our staff portal, and then they're scrolling down to Frontline Teams, and then they're entering their grading or they're taking attendance, and there's quite a few clicks to get there. So I just want to share that if you are logged into your EPISD Google account, so I'm logged into my EPISD Google account, you should have a bookmark bar already. And so I have a bookmark bar with all of the different quick links EPISD has given me. And so today I was sharing with a teacher, if you look at my address bar on the top left, there's a little icon. It doesn't matter what that icon looks like, but you take that little icon and if you drag it into your bookmark bar, I'm going to drag it right here and you let go. Maybe that didn't work here. I should have went to, let me delete that. Let me go to Teams and show you what it means. Teams, I want to grab that one there. Teams, and you grab that little icon and you drag it into the bookmark bar. You're going to notice that you'll have a shortcut for Teams so that when you need to enter attendance every single day or every single class period, you can add that here by just clicking on it without having to log into Staff Portal, log into Teams multiple times. And if you want to simplify this, you can do a right click and then just edit that icon and delete Teams sign in. And what you'll be left with is just your Frontline Teams icon right here. So now I have it twice. I delete one. So whenever I need to take attendance, I'll just click on that little link and it'll take me where I need to go. So I just wanted to share that goodie because I feel like it might save you some time, especially if you're taking attendance multiple times during the day or if you're entering grades throughout the week. Okay.
And Karen, just so you know that when you did the right click, it didn't show that menu option for us on the screen, but you get a secondary menu that's going to give you the option to edit, to delete, all that. So even though we didn't see it on the screen, when you right click on these icons, you do get a secondary menu that gives you the options that Karen was talking about.
Yeah, I appreciate that you jumped in to say that because I was assuming everyone could see that icon there. Okay. All right, so the next thing I want to do is just hop over into, Jesus and I were both working on a presentation. So I'm going to hop into the variation that I have, and that is that if you're going to be working on assigning grades to students this school year, you're going to definitely start by clicking on your Frontline Teams, right? And then taking a moment to sign in. Okay, so that's going to be really important that you sign in. And then when you hop in, you're going to notice that you're going to have a menu of options based off of, or I believe it's going to be Gradebook, based off of what you have access to in Frontline Teams. When I log in, I don't have any options in here, okay? So there's 2 spaces that we're going to look at today. One is to enter classroom grading, and then the second, which is really the first thing we're going to look at, which is maintain teacher gradebook. And maintain teacher gradebook is mostly going to be the look and feel. Most teachers only visit maintain teacher gradebook once a year or once a semester, and then they don't go back to it, right? And for the rest of the school year, they're in enter classroom grading to add their assignments and add their grades. So there's 2 different places that we'll visit today. And we'll make sure that we set you up correctly. So if you're doing this along with me, not sure if you can watch and go into your gradebook at the same time, but when you are in the maintain teacher gradebook category, let me see what happens when I present Julie. No, I appreciate the feedback. Julie's in the room with me. And so she's letting me know what it looks like for you. And so I'm going to go into the full screen. It's a little hard for me because, like I said, I can't see everything in my webinar because I don't have dual monitors. So bear with me here. Okay. When you hop into maintain teacher gradebook, you're going to notice that it looks somewhat like this. Okay. When you hop in, one of the tabs that we have is gradebook course section, and it's recommended that every single teacher take a moment to just hop into this space, and they can set up the look and feel of their gradebook here, and then just confirm their categories here, okay? I'm gonna hop over to the next screen because I believe I set it up in a way that might make sense. So for example, the first thing is here under course section. As a teacher, you would hit the drop down, and keep in mind, I don't have a live grade book to show you, but in this case, one course section has already been selected. You may have 6, 7, I'm not sure how many in here, but it's important to take a moment and set them all up and set them up the way that you would like them to look. The things that you want to consider, I know this is 2021, well, for yours, I hope it says 2024, but that the fiscal years is correct. Here on the display filter, this is just showing you what chronologically how you want to see your grade book. So date, due, ordered, entered is typically a default. One of the ones that is not my favorite is category, and then due date, and then order entered. So I would say due date is great. If you like to check around and see what the other options are, you most certainly can, but it definitely will impact the way your gradebook looks. Here, this option says hide columns. As you're getting into your gradebook, if you're new, you may want all of these items selected off, but I'll be honest with you, this is just going to really depend on the teacher and what they want to see. The local ID means that you'll see the student's ID number in your gradebook. The school means you're going to see the school code or location code in your gradebook. If you teach at one school all day long, you might want to check that off and hide the school. If you teach at 3 or 4 different schools, that might be important to you. For grade level, same thing. If you're teaching the same grade all day long, you might check this off to hide it because these are things that you already know every day. So you want to check off any of the things that you do not want to see in your grade book on a daily. And then the section alias here is if you want to give your course a nickname. So for example, if I have a lot of courses that look like this and I'm confused, I can give my course section a nickname here, and you'll see that at the end inside of your gradebook. Once you've set this up the way you like it, you want to make sure that you hit the save options. Give me one moment for being a little bit out of order, but all of my faces are over this space here on the right. So I did forget to mention that you can check off average decimal if you would like to see this. Most elementary teachers do not because we don't want to see the grade 98.2, but in some cases, in high school, I've heard that that this is something that parents or students may want to see. Vertical assignments, I don't like to check this off, but some teachers do, but that basically will put the name of your assignment vertically inside of your gradebook. So again, these are just ways that the look and feel of your gradebook, okay? All right, I'm gonna move this over. So when you have that set up, you would just click Save Options. Down here on the bottom, we wanna make sure that for each course section that we have the default category. What I can't show you is what this looks like live, but for example, I believe there is a button add here on the bottom, or if you just click, you may already see, sorry, I accidentally advanced ahead. You might see daily for elementary, and this should already be set up for you. If it's not set up for you, you want to probably head on over to visit the PEIMS clerk and let them know that that category name hasn't been set up. So most people take a moment, just confirm if you're elementary, it should be daily with a weight of 100. You should see what grade book cycle we're in, right? That we're having alpha grades only is a no, because actually we have numeric, that the scale value is 1. We would just keep everything the same here. And then under color, if you did want to see a color, not a preference for me, you could definitely click that color if that helps you identify identify that for which grade book you're in. There is a drop low and drop high. If you are interested in dropping one of the lowest grades in that category, you could definitely select that as well. Okay, do we have any questions moving forward?
No, and like you said, Karen, these categories will be set up for them. So if they're not seeing these categories, it's important to go to either a PEIMS clerk in elementary or your GNI in the secondary.
Yeah, secondary does look a little bit different though. So if you're an elementary teacher, just tune me out for a moment. But this will also educate you on what it looks like in middle school, especially if you're working with fifth graders, right? That our board policy does share that we have different categories. And so you would set the top area, the look and feel up the way that you want, same as elementary school. But down on the bottom, the categories that you should see are content engagement at a weight of 20, content mastery at a weight of 40, and content understanding at a weight of 40. And so it's really important that you see those three categories and that you're evenly remembering that you should have up to at least 4 grades in each of these categories for your students. And again, if you wanted to consider a drop low, you could manipulate that here. But for the most part, the weight has to add up to 100. That's important. The grade, the scale grade value should be 100, but these are things that already should be set for you. Some teachers like to choose a color scheme. And so if you wished, you could choose a color scheme so that you would know that everything that was green was actually content engagement, or everything that was beige, if you chose that color, was content mastery, and so forth. Okay, so that's the difference between the elementary and the secondary gradebook. So once that's set up for you, I believe on the back end, there is a way to hop on over to enter classroom grading or head over to the gradebook. So you might even see a button afterwards so that you can enter there. But if you don't, if you head back to the home inside of your Frontline Teams, one of your options, just like maintain teacher gradebook, is to enter your classroom grading. So you want to make sure that your gradebook is set up the way that you want to see, the look and feel is good to go. And then enter classroom grading is where you're going to go when you want to enter assignments or where you want to enter grades for your students. Okay, so when you hop into enter classroom grading, you're going to be presented with all of the courses that you are teaching. And so identify which course you want to add grades, you want to add assignments to. You can double click or select one time and press the select button, and that will open up that course section. Afterwards, you're going to get to a screen that looks like this. The things you want to pay attention to is the fact that your course section will be up at the top. You have 9 weeks, depending on which 9 week we're in. Right now, we're in NW1, 9 week 1. And so we want to make sure that all of the grades and assignments that we're entering for 9 week 1 is in NW1, okay? You're going to see things like a numeric number count for students, the names of the students, their ID numbers. This has been blurred out for student data information. You're going to notice that there's a grade level, there's a D for demographics, and any of these items you can actually click on and it'll give you some information about that student, demographics especially, right? You're going to notice the average for the student and the semester average. But moving forward, it's really important to take a look at all of the buttons on the bottom, and you might even have a few buttons that are a little bit different this school year if they've added things. We're going to be headed into assignments, but for just a moment, I want you to take note that you can print reports here if you'd like, and you can email parents if you click on email parents if you'd like, and there's even a email students option if needed, okay? But you're going to click on assignments if you want to enter your first assignment. And from here, again, you're going to notice that it's always going to tell you what course section you're in and what which 9 weeks you're in as well, okay? Down here on the bottom, when you're ready to enter your first assignment, you would just click the add button. And after you click the add button, if you're teaching elementary, your only choice is daily, so you would click a daily. But if you're teaching middle school or high school or secondary, you're going to get a drop down that's going to ask you if it's content engagement, mastery, or understanding, and you're going to need to select which category that assignment falls into. Okay, and then you're just going to fill out the other appropriate information. What are you naming the assignment? That will be added here. Please note from my experience with Teams Gradebook, it doesn't like you to name any assignments the exact same name. So you might need to identify it with 1, part 2, part 3, but it's going to require a different name for every single assignment. For assignment date, this is something that you want to populate as well. This gives parents information. What day did the teacher assign the assignment? So if you click, you should get a drop down for a calendar and you can choose the assigned date. The due date is equally as important. If the assignment is not due for 2 weeks, I would go ahead and take a moment to change that now, because as parents set up notifications in Parent Portal, if the due date is the date you assigned it and it's already passed, tomorrow when there's no grade in the grade book, it's going to send an email to the parent to let them know that they haven't turned it in. Or I don't know, there's different little notifications that they get. So these things are really important that you populate as a teacher. We're going to keep the default year end for the alphanumeric grades. The scale value for the most part should always be 100. The maximum value for the most part should always be 100. And then here for the number count, this is where you get to customize as a teacher. If this is an assignment, we're one and done, it's just going to count one time. But if it's an assignment that we're working on for the entire week and it actually counts for 2 grades, you might manipulate that right here in this box to type in the number 2, okay? So that's pretty much most of what you need to know in here. If you do want to attach something or add a note, you most certainly can. And there's also a copy button if you want to make a copy of it for another course section. One of the items that we have, and I'm just going to share this right now in our agenda, is how to add an extra credit assignment. And so notice extra credit assignment is here. So if you are wanting to add an extra credit assignment, you want to intentionally do this almost exactly the same way you would for a regular assignment. The only difference is, so we do this the same, name it, assignment date, due date, so forth. The only difference is you want to make sure that you change assignment for extra credit only from N to a Y. And then you want to consider the scale value and the maximum value. And for this, I do want to refer back to our document because I don't want to mess this up. And so inside of our gradebook, Schoology, excuse me, you're going to notice that there is an elementary gradebook information and middle and high school gradebook information. Both folders should have a link for extra credit and bonus points in Teams. This one says 2nd through 5th grade, but they're pretty darn similar, okay? And then when you click on the PDF document, it should show you, it's quite a few pages here, but I'm just gonna scroll really fast and show you because I don't want to read all of this to you. It's a lot of information, but all of the bit on adding an extra credit assignment. But here is the example. And so when we talked about the scale value and the maximum value, you're going to want to do a little bit of math. Math is important here. So let me hop over here. So it's saying that you might choose the scale value. Let me go to present for just a moment so you can see this. You might choose the scale value to be 100 and the maximum value to be 10, 10 being the students would earn 10 extra points for that, I don't want to say category, but for their overall points, right? And the scale value would help you with your grading. So they got a 100 and it would automatically turn that into 10 additional points for extra credit. So with that being said, let me hop back over to that PDF. Here it's showing you that if you had an assignment grade without extra credit, if I had a 90, 100, and a 100, my grade book is going to calculate it as 290 points for an average of 96.67. But if I use an extra credit assignment, notice this one here for 10 points. If I'm a student with a 90, a 100, and a 100, and I do the extra credit assignment, I get a 100 on it and it gives me 10 points. Now it's calculating 300 points divided by 3 assignments, not by the 4th one here, but by 3 assignments for the average of 100. So that's important to note. And I just wanted to share that that document is in here, that you may go with, if it's 10 points extra credit for this one assignment, then the scale value is still 100 and the maximum value is the number of points you're going to award students for that category, okay? And let me hop back over into present. There we go. All right. Okay, so once you've added your assignments in, you can continue to add additional assignments. But like I said, if you're a teacher planner and an assignment is not going to be assigned for another week, change these dates, really important, okay? If you do want to delete an assignment, I already know this from past experience, if you've entered grades for the students, you'll end up having to delete them before you can delete an assignment. So Teams won't let you delete an assignment you've already entered grades for, okay? If you click the word or the button here, return to gradebook, it should now send you to the gradebook where you can begin adding or assigning grades to your students. Oh, sorry, that's not necessarily what I wanted to show you next. I don't believe. Okay, so I don't have my screen captures ready for how you would, what it's going to look like if you're wanting to add grades. And so I'm going to hop over to our video resource really quick, and I want to show you what it's going to be like to enter grades. Give me one moment. So I want to make sure that you can see this. I'm going to scroll on over to our resource here. So the same is going, if you're in Frontline Teams, you want to make sure that you enter classroom grading. So that, of course, is here. I'm going to skip ahead because these are things that we probably, again, have already experienced. You want to select the grade that you're going to want to enter the grades for. Okay. And then this is the screen that you're going to see when you're wanting to enter grades for your students. And so, again, the names of students and their ID numbers have been blocked out for the purpose of protecting student data. Give me a moment. We've already covered this piece. I'm hoping it's in this video. There we go. Okay. So once you've entered a grade, the difference is you're going to start noticing your assignments appear up here at the top. So they're going to begin populating. This one assignment happens to be called Week 1 Vocabulary. And so again, we're in NW1. It tells me what my course section is, and this is Student 1. So if I wanted to enter a grade for Student 1, I would just click in the cell, type in the grade. If the majority of my students, I gave a pop quiz and the majority of my students scored a 100 and only 2 students scored something different, I'm going to use the all row here, and I'm going to type in 100, press return, and it'll populate a 100 for every single student. And then I can go to, say, student 5, click, and change it to an 85 if that's what they scored, and go to student 7 and click and make the change. So the all is really nice. If the majority of my students have earned the same score, I can use that all to populate from within here. Okay, so entering grades, it happens in that little space. Trying to see if there is anything additional that you really need to know, but it's pretty self-explanatory in there. There are some additional buttons on the bottom, and so if you're wanting to add assignments, you're going to notice there is a button for adding assignments here as well. If you do want to email parents and email students, that's in here as well. If you want to take advantage of notes, you can. There is a way to add notes to remind yourself about a grade and make it public for parents as well. I do not happen to have a screen capture on that, so I'm not going to show that in here. But I do want to take you back to a couple of resources within our gradebook, Schoology here, that will be good to know about. Okay, we have, and I'm just hopping over into the elementary gradebook information, but I want you to know that there is a folder specific for secondary. They're almost the same, but not 100% exactly. But if you're wanting to take a look at behavior and effort grades, those are entered in the report card and progress report tab. And so there is a sheet that kind of walks you through how you're going to get there. But basically, once you're in the report card tab after you've posted grades, which we're going to do, we're going to share that in the future. That's more information will be populated here. So this is not the big focus of today, but note that in the report card tab, there's a way for you to be able to show attendance and comments. And if you scroll down, it's going to give you information about how you as a teacher can enter grades. So this piece is for elementary, where they can add the I, N, O, U, and S. And actually secondary does the same for effort as well. And then we have CM1, which is a column where you can type in a comment to just communicate with parents about how they did in your class. And so in secondary, you can do this for all of your students, right? If they're always prepared and you want to make sure that you highlight that, you would just type the number 10 and it will populate that on the report card if you do that in CM1 when that's printed out, right? Let me see if I hop back to this so I can show you what I mean. So this is an elementary report card, and I'm going to go and present so you can see what it looks like. But basically, on an elementary report card, there is an effort and there is a behavior section. So if you're dropping those in, that's where it's going to populate on the report card. And if you don't, they're going to be empty, right? And if you have teacher comments, there's going to be a section for teacher comments that would populate here. Sometimes for an elementary report card, you're going to notice that the character development is empty. And so there's a specific place you want to go in to make sure character development actually does print out on the report card. And for secondary teachers, this isn't something that they worry about. But for elementary teachers, in order to make sure that that piece is printing out when the report card is printed, they're going to want to make sure that in the HR course, which is homeroom, and that's not a place that teachers typically assign grades, but in HR, when they hop into show comments, they're going to notice the LIS, WOR, IND, and OTH areas, and this is where they can enter the O, I, S, N, or U to coincide with the 9 weeks and how a student did to listen and follow direction, complete work, working independently, and working well with others. Okay, I want to hop back over to my agenda and make sure that I covered all of the things that we said we would cover today. Special characters. So let me share with you where special characters are and the additional resources that we have. Special character grades. Okay. So these special characters, by the way, are important to note as well in elementary school. I know that it shows the resource here in middle and high school. When you click on special characters, these are going to be important when you're entering grades. Sometimes I'm scoring my students, they were all there. And remember, maybe I would use that all column and give them all a 100, but one student was absent. So I can, in that cell, to remind myself that the student was absent, type in all capital letters ABS, absent, and it's not going to affect their grade, right? So these special characters are important because based off of what you type in, it may remind you of what happened during that session. So for example, if there was cheating and I enter a capital CH, even though you see a capital CH, that grade is going to average as a complete 0, not a 50, not partial points, but a complete 0. You'll see like DNP, it's not going to affect. Possibly you want to check just in case that's changed. And E, if it's an excused absence and you're excusing the student from that assignment, or if you're waiting for it to be turned in, that E reminds you as the teacher of why you don't have a grade for that student so that it's a little easier to check in, especially when you have 100 students that you're working with throughout the day. An INC or is incomplete, an IP in progress, so forth. One of the ones that I see often I don't really see it often as a parent, but I see this is the NHI. And so some teachers will type in an NHI if an item has not been turned in, but communicate that with students and parents because an NHI averages as a 0. And when it averages a 0, if a student has 5 of those, it could look like a pretty unrecoverable 9 weeks. And so just be aware of what the letters place in and then communicate with parents what that means. Or I've also seen some teachers add comments in about when things are due or communicating with students on when their due dates are and so forth. So take a look at these inside of the notebook. I don't want to, or sorry, in the Schoology resource, I don't want to read them all off to you because that's a lot, and you're not necessarily going to remember because I read them to you, or take a quick screen capture so that you remember what these options are. And these would be in place of a numeric grade. This could be a placeholder for you so that you remember why there maybe isn't a grade in the grade book for a student for a specific assignment.
And I think you bring up a good point, Karen, with the NHI. For some reason, sometimes that has to be a default for, especially in our secondary. So we need to be very careful with that NHI because it does affect student grades, averages, GPAs, all that stuff. And it can frustrate students and parents when they start seeing zeros for maybe assignments that were you gave them permission to turn it in later, but yet you still put in an NHI, and that really can be really frustrating.
Yes, or if you have 5 or 6 NHIs and it looks like your grade value for the whole 9 weeks is a 19, that could be pretty detrimental for a student. And, again, everybody is different, but especially if you know of a student that's very sensitive, or a parent that you might, want to communicate with first before dropping in a bunch of NHIs. Just be aware of what it does so that you can communicate that and parents are aware of the repercussions of, or when they can turn things in and so forth. I think it's really important so that students don't give up before the 9 weeks is over. Okay, so with that being said, I think that we have the majority of our resources in here. So that was the last part, just making sure that you have access to the resources. I'm going to pull that up here if you do want to join it. As far as posting grades, we didn't cover that in today's session, but we're going to be adding more materials into our course. But there is a post to report card and post to progress report button, and you would hop in there and just make sure that you confirm the grades are correct and averaging correctly. And then there should be a finalize button when the window opens and when you're finally ready to post, because they'll give you the deadline, your campus will communicate that. You can finalize when all of your grades are ready. We do recommend, though, keep up with your weekly grading. It is going to, I don't want to say save you time, but trust me, if you fall behind, parents are going to be wondering what's going on and why didn't their student get the exact number of days to redo an assignment because they didn't know about it. And again, you'll be staying up adding grades for a very long time if you wait too far in. So spread it out, do yourself a favor, add those grades in weekly, and you should be set up for success with your Teams Gradebook. All right, we are 4 minutes from our close, but I'm going to go ahead and end, our session for today. And inside of the chat, Jesus, were you able to enter any information that they need for an evaluation or sign-in sheet?
Yes, I went ahead and added just a reminder to go ahead and complete the attendance and evaluation form. I've also re-added the course code for those of you that came in a little later. This course is available for you 24/7 so that you can look at all the resources that Karen has shared. So the course code is there as well.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know if you do have any questions. Your instructional technology specialist is usually very willing to help you along as you're learning about entering your grades in your Teams Gradebook.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm dropping the website, our website link in there as well. That is where you will find the recording of this. And don't forget that we have a lot more courses out there in our catalog of courses that you can join. And just like you joined, you registered for this session through that catalog of courses, we have online courses as well for different things like your Mimeo panels, your Prometheans, Schoology, the Chromebooks, Schoology, you name it. There are a lot of courses out there that we're offering for all of you. And you complete those courses and you'll get credit as well. So go to our resources out there in our DLR, Digital Learning Resources website, and let us know what you think. And in the actual recording, you can provide feedback for us there. So besides this evaluation, if you wanted to provide feedback or let us know, hey, this is something I would like to see in future I.T.S Tech Tips webinar sessions, we would gladly accept that, receive that, so that we can create those sessions for you as well. Thank you so much, Karen.
Anytime.
All right, we'll see you around. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.